I didn't expect anything. Birthdays for me are quiet, usually on purpose. Micah makes pancakes. I answer a couple of texts, maybe buy myself flowers on the way home. No party, no candles, no big declarations. Just peace. So when the doorbell rang that morning and Micah came in holding a brown box, I blinked at it like it was out of place. It had no bow, no tag, no sparkle. Just cardboard, sealed tightly with industrial tape. He set it on the counter but didn't let go right away. I glanced at him. "It's from your parents," he said, reading the shipping label. I shrugged. Weird. They've never sent anything on time before, or at all. Micah didn't laugh. He just kept staring at the box. His fingers tapped once against the edge, then again slower. "Don't open it." It took a second for me to register what he said. "What, don't open it?" he repeated. "Something's wrong. Micah, it's probably just guilt socks, or passive-aggressive scented candles." He didn't smile. Instead, he turned the box slightly and pointed. "Look at the label. No handwriting. No return name. P.O. box in a city they've never lived in." I leaned closer. It was true. The label looked like it had been printed by a machine, nothing human about it. Even the font felt cold. I opened a drawer and grabbed scissors just in case. My hand hovered over the tape, but I didn't cut. Something about the way Micah stood arms crossed, eyes locked, made me pause. "What are you seeing that I'm not?" I asked. He didn't answer, just tapped again, this time slower near the corner seam. I followed his hand, and then I saw it. It was small, almost nothing, but my entire body went still. The day before my phone rang while I was folding laundry, Mom lit up on the screen, and for a second I debated letting it go to voicemail. But I didn't. Habit wins over instinct more often than I like to admit. Her voice came through thick with syrup. "Oh, sweetheart," she cooed. "We sent you a little surprise. It should arrive right on time." Right on time. From a woman who once sent me a graduation card 3 months late with my sister's name accidentally written inside. I held the phone between my shoulder and cheek and kept folding. "That's thoughtful. Thanks." She giggled. My mother giggled. "It's nothing big," she said. "Just a token of our love." I froze then, not because of the words, but because she didn't follow them with a criticism. No mention of how sensitive I've always been. No reminder that I read too much into things. Just love, plain and unchallenged. And yet it wasn't. I knew better. After 3 decades of trained reactions and uneven holidays, I'd learned to spot the curve in her tone, the one she used when she wanted something. But this time I couldn't place what it was. Still, I said thank you. I hung up. I stared at the phone like it might reveal something I missed. Later that night, Micah asked what was wrong. I said nothing, because part of me still wanted to believe it, that maybe this birthday would be different, that maybe for once they were just being kind. No strings, no traps, just family. But as I stood in front of the box the next morning watching Micah's brow crease, I knew exactly what that sweetness had been. It was cover, and now it was sitting on my kitchen counter. Micah didn't move. His eyes stayed fixed on the seam where the tape folded over itself. I followed his gaze, half expecting to see something obvious writing damage, maybe even a tear, but it was cleaner than that. Too clean. "There," he said quietly, tapping the corner with his index finger. "You see it?" I leaned in. At first, I thought it was just the tape slightly glossier than usual, but then I noticed the texture. The edge had that same laminated sheen, almost waxy, with just a hint of blue thread in the seam. A very specific kind of industrial tape. My stomach dipped. I'd seen that tape before. A year ago, when Micah and I dropped off a baking dish at Sierra's apartment, she'd been kneeling on the floor surrounded by boxes. She called it inventory. Half the apartment looked like a warehouse. Glossy white packaging with minimalist labels, faint lavender scent leaking out of half-open lids. She'd smiled like she owned the world. "This supplier is strict," she had said when I tried to peek inside one of them. "They track everything. If you open the wrong one, it messes up the chain." Back then, I hadn't understood what she meant. Now I did. This wasn't a reused box. It was new, fresh, sealed by the supplier Sierra swore no one else could touch, and now it was here on my counter with my name printed in perfect sans serif font. I looked at Micah. He didn't speak, but I could feel the tension between us tightening like a cord. Not angry, not scared, just ready. I reached for the box again, fingertips grazing the edge. It didn't feel like cardboard anymore. It felt like evidence, like a question I didn't want to answer. Micah stayed quiet, letting me decide. My hand dropped. We both stepped back at the same time. And then my phone lit up again. Her name. Just as soft, just as sweet. I answered the call but didn't hold the phone to my ear. Instead, I hit speaker and set it on the counter between us and the box. "Sweetheart." My mother said, her voice high and lilting. Did it arrive? Micah's jaw flexed. I could feel his gaze but didn't meet it. "Yeah," I said. "It came." I didn't touch the box, didn't move. My hand was steady only because I'd gone completely numb. "Oh, good." She sighed like she'd just exhaled 3 decades of motherly tenderness. "Did you open it?" I glanced at Micah, who didn't blink. "Yeah," I said. I opened it. Pause. "It's beautiful." "Thank you." I watched the lie hover in the room for a second, then settle between us like fog. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, and I wanted to scream. "We just wanted to remind you how much we love you. You're our girl. Don't ever forget that." My stomach dropped. That line didn't belong to her. Not once in my life, not when I graduated, not when I got married, not when I lost a pregnancy alone on her couch, had she called me our girl. And now it came out like a Hallmark script she'd rehearsed in the mirror. Micah moved slightly, just enough to shift his weight. "Well, she went on all sing-song. We thought you deserved something nice. You've always been so strong." She hung up without waiting for a reply. I didn't move. Micah didn't either. The box sat between us like it had ears. "I hate how nice she was," I finally said. "I know," Micah said softly. "She only calls me sweetheart when she's about to lie." "I know." We stood there for a long time, not looking at the box, not touching it. It didn't feel like a gift anymore. It felt like it was waiting for us to misstep. And that's when the memories started pulling at the edge of me, dragging me back to the version of love I was always told to be grateful for. I was 8 the first time I took the fall for something Sierra did. A dark green ceramic vase had shattered in the hallway. It was ugly, probably worthless, but my mother treated it like a family heirloom. I heard the crash from the living room and walked toward the sound on instinct. Sierra was already standing over the mess, lower lip, trembling tears pooling like she could summon them on command. When Mom appeared, Sierra didn't even flinch. She just pointed at me. Rihanna did it. No warm-up, no eye contact. Just betrayal, clean and cold. I hadn't touched the vase. I hadn't even walked past it. But I said nothing. I was older. She was crying. I knew how this movie ended. Mom looked at me like I was a cracked mirror she didn't want to fix. "You should have been watching her," she said. Then she sent me to my room. Sierra got a popsicle. That pattern never changed. When Sierra borrowed my favorite sweater in middle school, the one Grandma gave me, wore it to school and got paint on it, she told our mom Rihanna didn't say it was important. Mom just nodded. You know she's still learning boundaries. I was 12. Sierra was 9. The sweater was ruined. Sierra got ice cream. Years later, when I brought it up at Thanksgiving half as a joke, Sierra rolled her eyes. "You're still hung up on that." Then she laughed and our mother said, "It wasn't that big a deal." That night, Sierra posted a photo of the family dinner with the caption "Grateful for forgiveness." She never once said sorry. Even when she maxed out a credit card I let her use during her bath bomb startup phase. She cried, said she was drowning, said I didn't understand what pressure felt like, and every time I stayed quiet I was told I was strong, mature, capable. The one who kept things from falling apart, the emotional garbage disposal of the family. I used to believe that made me necessary, but watching Micah look at that box like it might explode, I realized something else. They never protected me because they trusted me. They used me because I never cried. It didn't take long. 30 minutes after I hung up on my mother, there was a knock at the door. Not the casual kind, not the kind that waits. 3 even hits firm and practiced. Micah was already moving before I could speak. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't need to. When I opened the door, 2 officers stood there in uniform. 1 male, 1 female. Polite but unreadable. "Are you Rihanna Hale?" the man asked. I nodded. "We've received a report regarding a suspicious package delivered to this address. May we come in?" Micah stepped behind me. I opened the door wider. The box was still sitting on the counter. Same angle, same crease in the tape. It hadn't moved, and somehow that made it worse. I pointed. "That's the one." They approached it carefully, gloves already on. The male officer glanced at the label, then looked back at me. "This was addressed to you." "Yes." "Have you opened it?" "No." He nodded. "Would you mind if we did?" I shook my head. Micah stood behind me, arms crossed, jaw tight. They used a box cutter precise and slow. The sound of the tape peeling back made my spine tense. Inside bubble wrapped some small decorative figurines, marble or glass, I couldn't tell. A folded invoice, some kind of certificate, and a QR code stamped on the bottom of one piece. The female officer scanned it with her phone. She and her partner exchanged a glance I didn't understand. "Do you know what these are?" he asked. "No. I mean, they look like art." "Do you know where they came from?" "My parents sent it to me, for my birthday." "Do you have any proof of that?" I picked up my phone, opened voice memos, and hit play. My mother's voice filled the room, syrupy, fake, unmistakable. "Did you get our little gift? We just wanted to show you how much we love you. You're our girl." I stopped the audio. The officer nodded slowly. "We're going to take this with us. You're not being charged at this time, but this shipment matches materials in an active investigation." Micah followed them to the door, but I didn't move. I just stared at the empty counter. They called that night. I didn't recognize the number, but I didn't need to. I answered anyway because I wanted to hear how they'd explain it. My mother's voice was different this time. No sweetness, no performance, just sharp and tight. "How could you?" she snapped. I didn't answer. "You told the police it was Sierra's. I told them who sent the package. I said you did. You know what this means for her?" "Yes," I said. "You could have kept your mouth shut. You could have said it was a mistake." I closed my eyes. "You called me. You checked that it arrived, and then you tipped them off to what was inside. You made the choice." There was silence. Then my father's voice came through low and measured, like he was trying to sound reasonable. "We thought they'd just seize the items and move on. We didn't think it would trace back this far." "But you thought it might trace to me," I said. "You're stronger," he said simply. "You've always been stronger. You used my name, my house, and now what Sierra gets to cry, and you get to pretend it was all a misunderstanding. She's not built for this, my mother cut in. She has 2 kids, a family. You don't. And there it was. They picked me because I was expendable. No one else relying on me. No children to be traumatized. No husband they respected enough to consider. Just the older daughter who never needed anything. The one who always got back up. You've always bounced back," my father added, as if that were a compliment. I didn't speak. I didn't argue. I ended the call. Micah returned from the kitchen with 2 mugs of tea and didn't ask what happened. He just set mine in front of me and sat across the table. The counter behind him was clear, but the space where the box had been still felt like a wound. They really thought I'd open it. The detective called 3 days later. I was halfway through a bowl of cereal when the screen lit up. He sounded tired, not rude, just methodical. He said they'd uncovered several documents connected to an art resale account supplier registration's international invoices filed under my name, business license applications, payment links, shipping trails. "Have you ever registered a business called Hale Studio Designs?" he asked. "No." "Have you ever used the email hale.designs73@lookmail.com? I actually laughed. "No, I don't even use numbers in my email." He didn't laugh back. "We found a digital signature attached to multiple vendor contracts. It appears to be yours." He sent it over. It took 3 seconds to confirm what I already knew. The signature was mine, except it wasn't. The loops were wrong. The pressure was forced. Someone had tried to mimic the way I signed birthday cards. "Is this your handwriting?" "No." He asked if anyone in my family had ever had access to my old paperwork taxes ID mail. I paused. Years ago, yes. Before I knew I had to protect it. He asked if I'd submit a signed affidavit confirming I never authorized any of it. I said yes. I wrote it that afternoon. Micah double-checked it before I sent it back. I even attached a scan of my actual signature, just in case anyone needed help spotting the difference. The detective thanked me for my cooperation. He didn't say Sierra's name again, didn't promise charges, didn't hint at an ending. Micah and I sat in silence for a while after I hung up. I hadn't touched my cereal. I looked around our kitchen, small, clean, ordinary. A space we'd built piece by piece. A life we'd tried to keep simple. The name on the lease, the utilities, the insurance, everything in my name. And now that name was a crime scene. Sierra pled out. Wire fraud, identity theft, import violations. Her lawyer negotiated it down to 2 years of probation and a fine that could have bought a new car. No jail time, no business license until her mid-40s, a slap on the wrist considering. My parents were charged 2 conspiracy aiding and abetting. They pled guilty. Community service public record and a tidy little fine. Nothing that touched their retirement, nothing that left a bruise. My name was mentioned 12 times in the court transcript, not once with an apology. I didn't go to the hearing. I read the papers. I saw the coverage. I looked at a courtroom photo of Sierra in a beige cardigan, eyes wide and wounded like she'd tripped into the whole thing by accident. My mother sat behind her, hand on her shoulder, like she was the one being punished for loving too much. Micah asked if I wanted to send a statement. I said no. I wanted my name out of it as fast as it had been dragged in. Then came the request, a message, from my father's email. They wanted to meet, just the 2 of them. One conversation he wrote for clarity. Micah didn't say no. He just asked if I wanted him there. I didn't. I picked the place, some overpriced cafe near the courthouse. The kind of place where the coffee isn't great, but the tables are small enough to make people uncomfortable. I arrived 10 minutes late. They were already seated. My mother looked like she'd rehearsed her facial expression for a week straight. My father gave that hollow half-smile I knew too well. I didn't sit right away. I wanted to see how long it took them to pretend this was about closure. We didn't know, my mother said before I'd even sat down. I raised an eyebrow. She said it was just for shipping. My father added, like that explained anything. You didn't ask, I replied. You never do. They looked at each other as if coordinating which lie to offer next. She said you wouldn't mind, my mother continued. That it was temporary. She also said I'd open the box, I said. Turns out she says a lot of things. Silence stretched across the table like a net. We didn't think it would go this far, my father said. No, I said. You didn't think you'd get caught. That landed. My mother straightened like she was preparing for the closing argument. You've always been stronger, Rihanna. You don't have kids. You don't have anyone depending on you. We thought you'd be able to recover. There it was, the real reason. Polished, practiced, probably whispered between them for weeks. You offered me up, I said, because no one else depends on me, because my life was easier to sacrifice. That's not what we meant. It's exactly what you meant. I didn't wait for more. My coffee was still half full, but I left it on the table as I stood. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. I walked out with the kind of clarity I used to think only came after someone said sorry. That night I blocked them. Every number, every email. I deleted the emergency contacts from every form they still lingered on. Driver's license, HR files, doctor's office, all of it. Gone. Not out of anger, out of necessity. The next morning, Micah brought me coffee while I sat at the kitchen table. He didn't ask anything. He just placed it in front of me. I wrapped my hands around the mug. I'm done, I said.